32-year-old Diamond Thomas is behind bars for fatally stabbing her 34-year-old boyfriend Archie Phillips. At around 1:15 p.m. on Saturday the 4th of May, authorities responded to an apartment in the 4200 block of 28th Avenue in Temple Hills, Maryland on reports of a disturbance. When officers arrived, they entered the premises and found Archie unresponsive with a stab wound, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators determined that Diamond stabbed Archie during an argument. It's unclear what the fight was about. Diamond was arrested and charged with manslaughter and is held at the Prince George's County Jail. Archie's obituary states that he was employed as a forklift driver for various companies over the years and enjoyed spending time with his family and friends and will be greatly missed. He's survived by his 5 children. The investigation into the matter continues. A former West Point, Mississippi police officer and his wife are behind bars for the death of their 4-month-old child. On Tuesday the 7th of May 2024, 24-year-old Donovan Jeffers and 25-year-old Kiana Peterson were booked into the Clay County Jail on murder charges and are currently held without bond. West Point Police Chief Avery Cook said the arrests date back to November of 2022, when the couple's child went to the hospital for brain and spinal injuries. The child died and medical examiners identified the cause of death as shaken baby syndrome, and the case was determined to be a homicide. The investigation into the matter continues. A 26-year-old woman is behind bars for fatally shooting a man and then stealing money from him to purchase food. At 7:46 a.m. on Monday the 6th of May, authorities responded to Cherokee Park in the 2900 block of Fillmore Avenue in Memphis, Tennessee, where they found a man deceased with a gunshot wound. Police obtained footage from an apartment complex nearby that captured a person of interest in the homicide. The following day, a woman reported her daughter Kenyatta Hayes as a suspect and escorted her to police. Kenyatta told officers that she was at the Marathon gas station along Lamar Avenue when a man approached her and offered to pay her $60 for oral sex. She told police that she was thirsty for money. She said she went with the man to the park under false pretenses that she was going to engage in a sexual act, but she planned to rob him instead. At the park, she fatally shot the man, took cash from him and then fled the scene before spending $47 on 2 hot wing combos for herself and her boyfriend. Kenyatta was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and perpetration of a robbery. She remains held at the Shelby County Jail pending a bond hearing. The investigation into the matter continues. A 70-year-old man is behind bars for shooting and severely injuring his neighbour. At 5:37 p.m. on Tuesday the 7th of May, authorities responded to a location near 144th Place and Rickerman Road in Lockport Township, Illinois, and reports of a person shot. Witnesses to the incident told investigators that John Chadbar shot his 45-year-old neighbour Melissa Robertson outside and was walking around his property with a rifle. He reportedly fired dozens of rounds of ammunition with an assault-style rifle at the victim from different locations outside. After the shooting, Melissa managed to drag herself from a yard into her kitchen. A friend who had been staying with her called 911. Deputies arrived on scene and found Melissa with a gunshot wound to her chest that had exited her back as well as one to her hand. They attempted life-saving measures on the victim and transported her to a local hospital in a critical condition. She underwent surgery and is recovering. Authorities said that after shooting his neighbour, John went into his home and barricaded himself inside. A crisis negotiator spoke with John via phone when John made several incriminating statements. The negotiator eventually convinced John to surrender peacefully, and deputies arrested him without incident. Investigators obtained surveillance footage from the area and said that the incident appears to be racially motivated. Family and friends said that John previously made racial slurs about Melissa looking after 2 black boys. John is charged with 9 felony counts, including attempted first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, hate crime, and unlawful use of a weapon by a felon. John remains held at the Will County Jail without bond. The investigation into the matter continues. A 48-year-old man is behind bars for assaulting and killing his 68-year-old mother. At just before 9 p.m. on Sunday the 5th of May, police and medical personnel responded to a home in the 200 block of Sandcastle Boulevard in Salisbury, Maryland on report of an unconscious woman. Upon their arrival, they were met by the victim's husband. Once they entered the home, police and medics located an unresponsive woman in the bathtub. Officials pronounced her deceased at the scene. The deceased victim was identified as 68-year-old Beatrice K. Gentry. Maryland State Police forensic crime scene technicians were called in and processed the scene for evidence. During the investigation, authorities identified Jeremy Gentry, the victim's son who lives at the same address, as a primary suspect in Beatrice's death. The following morning, homicide detectives located Jeremy in Wicomico County, and he was arrested without incident. He's charged with first and second degree murder, first and second degree assault, and reckless endangerment. Autopsy results to determine the victim's cause and manner of death are still pending. Jeremy remains held at the Wicomico County Detention Center as he awaits his bond hearing. The motive of the killing is unclear as the investigation into the matter continues. 35-year-old Randy Moult is behind bars on suspicion of causing the death of a 3-year-old boy he was babysitting at his home. At 6:18 p.m. on the 13th of April, authorities responded to a home at 6244 London Groveport Road in Darbydale, Ohio after receiving a 911 call of an unresponsive child. Randy told dispatch that his nephew just had a seizure and is not breathing. Medics transported the child to Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, where he was pronounced dead. A toxicology report revealed the child had a lethal amount of Benadryl in his system. Authorities said that Randy intentionally gave the child a fatal dose of Benadryl, and police recovered 2 bottles of Benadryl at Randy's home. Investigators said that Randy confessed to giving the drug to the child. The child's parents told police that Randy had been caring for the child at his home for about 3 days, and that they had not given Randy permission to give their son Benadryl. On Wednesday the 1st of May, detectives arrested Randy and booked him into the Franklin County Jail on charges of child endangerment, reckless homicide and murder. The following day, Randy appeared in court for his arraignment where his bond was set at $4 million on the condition that he stay away from minors. The grandmother of the deceased child said that the boy had a close relationship with Randy, whom her young grandson trusted and loved. She wanted answers to why Randy did this. "I just want to know why. All I've left is this to hold on to. This is my baby's ashes. This is all I've left of him and it's not fair. And I just want answers," the grandmother said. In 2009, Randy was convicted of felony child endangerment and was given an 8-year prison sentence. He admitted to beating a 23-month-old baby in that case, causing broken bones in both of the boy's hands after being upset at the mother for breaking up with him. A 25-year-old man is behind bars for fatally stabbing a mother of 4 while they were on a date and trying to steal her car. At just after 2:30 p.m. on Saturday the 27th of April, Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office deputies responded to a stabbing call along West Pleasant Ridge Road in Hammond, Louisiana, and found 31-year-old Carol Allen unresponsive in the backseat of the car with multiple stab wounds. Paramedics transported her to a local hospital, where she later died. Tangipahoa Parish investigators identified 25-year-old Christopher Jerome Wilson as a suspect and said he was wanted for murder. At 6:07 p.m. on Wednesday the 1st of May, Natchitoches Parish Dispatch Center received a call from a bike rider with a flat tire needing assistance on Interstate 40 just north of Derry, Louisiana. A Natchitoches Parish lieutenant arrived and identified the cyclist as Christopher. The lieutenant put the bike on his patrol truck and asked Christopher if he could search him and his backpack for officer safety. Christopher told him he had a small amount of marijuana with him, which the lieutenant located. Christopher also had additional marijuana and a scale in his backpack. Christopher was arrested in Natchitoches Parish for possession of marijuana, possession of drug paraphernalia, and an outstanding warrant for domestic abuse battery out of Tangipahoa Parish. He was transferred to the Tangipahoa Parish Jail, where he's been held on charges of first-degree murder and armed robbery with a knife. Investigators said that Christopher and Carol had been communicating throughout the day of her murder, and the two had planned a date. They met up in Hammond for the date, and Christopher attacked Carol and tried to steal her car. During the struggle, Christopher stabbed Carol numerous times in the back seat with a kitchen knife and fled the scene on foot. Carol was the one who called 911 to report the stabbing, but she quit responding while on the phone with dispatchers who were trying to pin down her exact location. Christopher was previously arrested in 2016 for armed robbery and convicted 2 years later for attempted armed robbery, which was a reduced charge. He spent 5 years in the Louisiana Department of Corrections. The investigation into the matter continues. An 18-year-old male is behind bars for fatally shooting a 26-year-old woman. At around 3:45 p.m. on Monday the 6th of May, authorities responded to a home at 9060 West Albert Drive in Odessa, Texas on reports of shots fired. When officers arrived, they found a woman deceased near a driveway at the front of the residence with multiple gunshot wounds. The victim was later identified as Kayla Allen. Evidence from the scene led officers to believe that Kayla was shot with a high-power, possibly assault-style rifle. Witnesses told authorities that a suspect left the area in a silver Nissan. Later that day, a Nissan matching the description was located at the mile marker 80 on Interstate 20 in Ward County, and a traffic stop was performed. The driver, 18-year-old Logan Allen, was found to be in possession of an AR-style rifle that officers believed to be the murder weapon, and he was taken into custody. Logan confessed to the murder to investigators, and it was discovered that Logan and Kayla were cousins. Family members described Logan as suffering from mental issues. Logan's charged with first-degree murder, assault of a public servant, and criminal mischief. He was booked into the Ector County Jail on a $1 million bond. The motive for the killing is unclear, as the investigation into the matter continues. A woman was killed and a man hospitalized following a family dispute that turned into a shooting. At 2:48 a.m. on Sunday the 5th of May, authorities responded to a report of a shooting at a residence in the Nance Forest complex located at 175 Nance Forest Drive in Newberry, South Carolina. When officers arrived, they entered the premises and found 24-year-old Diamond Kennedy deceased with a gunshot wound. A second person involved in the shooting was found at the scene, bleeding profusely from the face and mouth area. Medics transported him to Newberry County Memorial Hospital to be treated for his injuries. Further information on his condition was not available. Officials said that the incident stemmed from a family dispute, but did not provide any information about the dispute or how it escalated. Information on the shooter was not available, and no arrests have been reported by police. It's unclear if the shooting was considered to be self-defense. The investigation into the matter continues. Police are investigating a homicide in the fatal shooting of a 28-year-old man. At 8:53 p.m. on Sunday the 5th of May, authorities responded to an alley near the 1400 block of South Illinois Street in Indianapolis, Indiana, after receiving a report of a person lying on the ground there. When officers arrived, they located an unresponsive man with a gunshot wound, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. The victim was identified as 28-year-old Cameron Bradley Harmon. No suspects have been named, and the motive of the killing is unclear, as the investigation into the matter continues. A man and his girlfriend were shot to death in what police suspect was a murder-suicide. At just after 1:30 p.m. on Thursday the 9th of May, authorities responded to an apartment at 1697 Davidson Avenue in the Morris Heights neighborhood of the Bronx, New York on reports of shots fired. When officers arrived, they found 24-year-old Monroe Tillman and his girlfriend 22-year-old Emily Morales unresponsive with gunshot wounds to their heads. Medics pronounced them dead at the scene. Authorities said that the couple was shot to death at Monroe's ground floor apartment, where they lived with his brother. Officers found a gun near their bodies. A preliminary investigation indicated the possibility that the deaths may be a murder-suicide, though at this time it's not clear who fired the first fatal shot. Monroe's brother, whose name remains anonymous, said that they were a troubled couple, and they argued crazy to the point where weapons were involved. It was toxic, he added. Should leave and take a poodle. I feel responsible. That was my brother. My life, my heart, he said. 29-year-old Jaquel Carter is behind bars for fatally shooting the mother of his children, 31-year-old Alexis Noto, outside their home. At around 7:30 p.m. on Thursday the 9th of May, authorities responded to a report of a shooting at a home at the 100 block of Rendezvous Road in Scott, Louisiana. When officers arrived on scene, they found Alexis deceased with a gunshot wound in front of the property and her belongings scattered across the lawn. Investigators said that an altercation between Alexis and Jaquel at their home led to the shooting as Alexis was leaving for work. It's unclear what the argument was about. Alexis was a nurse and a mother to twins and two other older boys who were under the age of 9. Investigators said that Jaquel, the father of two of her children, remained on scene and was arrested as a suspect in her murder. Authorities said that Jaquel and Alexis shared the home, but family members were also in the process of helping Alexis move out. "I want my sister back," Alona Tolliver said. "He shot her in her work clothes. She was on her way out and my mum was coming here to pick up the kids to spend the night because she works overnights. That way it's easier, so she can be here during the day," she explained. "I want to kill her put away. She didn't deserve that, and her kids don't deserve to grow up without their mum, and she was just so young. I can say a million things right now," she said. Investigators spent hours searching for the murder weapon off Interstate 10. Officers believe that Jekyll threw the gun into a nearby field. Jekyll's charged with second-degree murder and is held at the Lafayette Parish Jail. 2 years ago, Jekyll was arrested for multiple catalytic converted thefts dating back to 2021. At the time, he was charged with 23 counts of felony theft. The investigation into the matter continues. 35-year-old Dion Lamont Montgomery is behind bars for fatally shooting his 9-month-old son in the head while he was sleeping. At around 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday the 8th of May, authorities responded to a residence at 3031 21st Avenue West in Seattle, Washington on reports of a shooting. When officers and medics arrived, they met with a woman named Dana. She told them that her son had been shot and was unresponsive. Medics pronounced the child dead at the scene. Dana told investigators that she was in the bathroom when she heard gunshots in her home. She then confronted her husband Dion and asked him what the noise was, and he told her that he fired a blank and he left the premises. Dana then went to check on her son and found him unresponsive with a gunshot wound to his head. Authorities said that Dion then fired 4 to 5 shots at 2 other people while walking down the street, but he missed them and hit parked cars instead. Police located Dion 3 blocks away from his home and took him into custody. Dion admitted to detectives to smoking PCP, a mind-altering drug that can induce hallucinations, and claimed that demons led him to shoot his son. Dana told investigators that she tries to avoid Dion when he gets a weird look in his eyes, and that he tried to kill her one time. Dion was booked into the King County Jail and charged with first-degree murder, 2 counts of first-degree assault, and first-degree unlawful use of a weapon. He remains held on a $5 million bond. The King County Prosecutor's Attorney's Office said that Dion has 16 prior arrests, with 14 felony charges, including theft, assault, burglary, possession of a stolen vehicle and unlawful possession of a firearm. The investigation into the matter continues. A woman is behind bars after stabbing her father after he refused to tell her where her baby was. At 2:46 p.m. on Thursday the 9th of May, authorities responded to a home in Red Bank, Tennessee on reports of domestic violence. When officers arrived, they entered the residence and found Damien Grant Castings in his bedroom with a large open wound to his chest, where he had been stabbed by his daughter, 20-year-old Ava Helene Castings. Damien told investigators that Ava became upset with him when he would not tell her where her child was. He said that while he was arguing with Ava inside his bedroom, she brandished a knife and stabbed him in the upper right chest area. Damien said that he believed that Ava was trying to kill him and that she could have stabbed his heart or lungs. The man survived the attack. Police found Ava outside the house, and when they spoke to her, she said she was upset that her father would not tell her where her child was and began arguing with him. Ava said that during the argument, she grabbed a knife and stabbed Damien with the weapon. Ava was arrested and charged with attempted murder and is held at the Hamilton County Jail on a $500,000 bond. The status of Ava's child and whether the child was ever in danger remains unclear, as the investigation into the matter continues. 57-year-old Anthony Martin Landry is behind bars for fatally shooting 46-year-old Jeffrey Limmer. At around 6 p.m. on Saturday the 4th of May, authorities responded to McDonald's at 8147 Katy Freeway in Houston, Texas on reports of a man shot. When officers arrived, they found Jeffrey unresponsive inside the restaurant with multiple gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities said that Anthony was upset over a wrong order and demanded a refund from McDonald's staff. He was arguing with employees, yelling racial slurs and making crude remarks. Jeffrey tried to intervene and calm Anthony down, but instead the irate customer turned his attention toward him. The argument led both men outside, and Jeffrey pushed Anthony to the ground and walked back inside the fast food restaurant. Anthony then grabbed a gun from his blue Ford pickup truck, opened the door to the restaurant, and shot Jeffrey twice before driving away from the scene. On Friday the 10th of May, Anthony turned himself into authorities at the Houston Police Department headquarters along the 1200 block of Travis Street without incident. He was charged with murder and booked into the Harris County Jail with bond denied. At the time of the shooting, Anthony had been released on a $10,000 bond for felony aggravated assault after striking a family member with a cane on the 17th of February, causing bodily harm. Anthony's criminal history dates back to 1997 for charges of possession of crack cocaine, evading arrest and forgery. Jeffrey worked as a lawyer for Lewis Brisbois law firm in Houston. His family said he'll be remembered as a lover of music and the great outdoors. Along with his family, Jeffrey leaves behind his dog Lola, who he rescued in 2020. The investigation into the matter continues. A couple are behind bars for beating and shaking their newborn daughter to death. At around 1:15 p.m. on Saturday the 4th of May, police were called to the Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters in Norfolk, Virginia, for a report of a child protection call. When officers arrived, they learnt that an unresponsive 9-day-old infant had been brought in showing signs of abuse. The infant was later pronounced deceased by medical staff. As a result, the child's parents, 21-year-old Zabria Parker and 23-year-old Hillary Johnson, were taken into custody and charged with child abuse. On Monday the 6th of May, the medical examiner conducted an autopsy and ruled the baby's death a homicide. Zabria and Hillary were also charged with second-degree murder. Authorities said the little girl, who was identified as LaJaya Johnson, was cold to touch when she arrived at the hospital. She had severe burns on both feet, splash burns on other areas of her body, a broken clavicle, broken ribs, severe bruising on her head, as well as clear signs of shaken baby syndrome. Zabria and Hillary were reportedly homeless and living in a tent off a highway because Hillary's grandfather kicked them out of the house when Zabria gave birth. Hillary was cavalier about the offence and asserted that it could not be proven that he did it because he brought the baby to the hospital. Zabria told investigators that she did not think her daughter's injuries were all that serious, so she treated the wounds with witch hazel and other home remedies. Zabria and Hillary had been held at the Norfolk City Jail without bond. The investigation into the matter continues. A mother and her boyfriend are behind bars in connection to the death of a child last year. On the 25th of November 2023, authorities responded to a home in the 900 block of East Limberlost Drive in Tucson, Arizona, where they found an 11-year-old boy deceased. Investigators said the child suffered from numerous medical conditions and he was completely dependent on the care from his guardians. The victim lived in the residence with his mother, 33-year-old Ariel Lee Horn, and her boyfriend, 29-year-old Charles Jackson McLennan Jr., as well as 3 other siblings. For months the case remained open as an unknown death, as investigators worked to develop reports and conduct additional interviews. An autopsy revealed that the 11-year-old boy sustained extensive lesions throughout his lower body and developed sepsis. Police said that the sores were attributed to not receiving proper medical attention and neglect by his mother and her boyfriend. On the 8th of November, a nurse at the victim's school noticed excoriated spots on the boy's skin and notified the child's mother that the boy would require a doctor's note before he could return to school. The boy missed several doctor's appointments, and investigators said his last appointment was months before. Ariel told investigators that she did not check the boy's sores, but claimed that Charles told her that the lesions were getting better. Authorities said that the boy spent extensive periods of time without being moved or adjusted, creating an environment for bacteria to grow and skin to break down. Investigators also discovered evidence of fentanyl use in the premises. On the 1st of May, Ariel and Charles were arrested and charged with child abuse and first-degree murder. They were booked into the Pima County Jail on $1 million bonds. The investigation into the matter continues. Authorities have identified a 39-year-old man who's wanted by police for attacking and raping a woman. The incident occurred at around 5 a.m. on Wednesday the 1st of May, near East 152nd Street and 3rd Avenue in the Bronx, New York. The New York Police Department released surveillance footage and images of the man in hopes of identifying him. The footage showed the attacker walking up behind the 45-year-old victim, wrapping a belt around her neck and pulling her to the ground, causing her to lose consciousness. He then drags the victim's limp body between 2 cars and glances around before he proceeds to sexually assault her. The victim was taken to New York City Health and Hospital's Lincoln in a stable condition. The suspect was seen wearing white sweatpants, a blue Gap sweatshirt and a white do-rag, similar to the material covering the rapist's face, which shows the attacker had cropped hair. He also had a backpack and was thought to be about 5 foot 9 inches tall. Upon further investigation, authorities announced on Friday the 10th of May that they have identified the suspect as 39-year-old Kashan Parks. During a press conference, Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny said that Kashan and the victim knew each other, and that a potential prostitution arrangement may have led to the incident. They were with each other early in the evening, and there may have been a promise of sex for money. Authorities said that when the alleged agreement did not come to fruition, Kashan became enraged and attacked the woman. Police said that they were not immediately aware of the incident since the victim did not report the attack to authorities. It wasn't until the woman was arrested for petty larceny that authorities learned of the incident. Police said that the victim managed to identify the attacker due to his distinctive gaps in his teeth. The suspect remains on the run, and police are asking for anyone with information of his whereabouts to contact Crime Stoppers. The investigation into the matter continues. 29-year-old Anthony Eldridge is behind bars for abusing his 16-week-old son, causing critical injuries. At 7:05 a.m. on Friday the 3rd of May, authorities responded to a home in the 2700 block of Daytona Avenue in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, on reports of a baby not breathing. Police and paramedics tended to the child, who regained consciousness at the scene, and was transported to Havasu Regional Medical Center. The extent of the child's injuries were so severe that it required flight life to Las Vegas, Nevada for more specialized care. Lake Havasu City police detectives consulted with doctors, who determined that the infant suffered from shaken baby syndrome, resulting in significant and permanent brain trauma. The infant remains intubated and under the care of medical specialists in Las Vegas, Nevada. At 11:45 a.m. on Tuesday the 7th of May, the child's father, 29-year-old Anthony Eldridge, was arrested and charged with 1 count of child abuse and 2 counts of aggravated assault. Anthony remains at the Mojave County Detention Center on a $100,000 cash-only bond. The investigation into the matter continues.